た。
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first day of playoffs here at Friend or Foe Esports. Today, we're kicking off our first best of three series of the Heroic League. On the blue side, rightfully there, we have Blue Bayou Zoo and Heroic's regular season first seed Universal Basic Income on the red side. As always, my name is Whirler, and here casting alongside me for these great matches today is Found.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here. What a phenomenal day to have a best of five series. Really have been waiting, especially with the week delay and the different patch changes. So much is different, and these teams have been one of the best, two of the best two teams in our league. And I'm so sure that this is going to be this series that could define who's going to take it all.
I have to agree. One thing I do want to point out, though, it is going to be a best of three for the quarters. So it's not a best of five quite yet. However, if we look at the picks right now, first pick for B1, we have an instant lock-in for Ezreal, and responded by that from YUBI is Sivir Wukong. We have our 80 carries locked in right on the get-go.
Yeah, absolutely. The Divine Sunderer changes has made Ezreal probably, if not the best, one of the best AD carry options for the moment right now. He's very safe. He has solid laning phase, and Sivir coming out is definitely going to be more of a team fight pick. She always is on the cusp of being viable, and I'm really happy to see Universal pick something different. I don't think they've played this Sivir that very often throughout the regular season, so this shows some prep that they may have already assembled for this game one.
And sticking true to Freljord, we got Trundle and Braum locked in for Blue Bayou Zoo. They're already revealing their whole bot lane. That is, I would say, quite an interesting choice from them. Quick comment about that new Ezreal build. Divine Sunderer, I feel like it's very fun, but my favorite part of that build is the fact that you build Frozen Heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Ezreal becomes super tanky. He's very difficult to kill. The mana scaling on that mirror mana is something that's been ridiculous for a long time. I'm really happy to see the Trundle pick. This is something that Dax has been playing off and on for at least a couple of years now, so it coming back out. And it's really good into Wukong, so Wukong gets a lot of free armor from his passive, and being able to strip that away will turn Wukong into paper in this mid game. So it's already getting some value out from that jungle pick as a soft counter to what the top lane selection was.
Not to mention, it complements the Divine Sunderer build very well, just because of the Mythic passive granting both armor and magic penetration. That's actually really useful for them. If we go to pick number 3, they lock in Malzahar to finish off draft phase 1. And back off to the bans. Let's start with the first bans. We kind of brushed over these ones. This one's going by a little quickly. We like to see that here, getting right into the games. We got Nocturne, Malphite, Galio, and so far Volibear locked out for Blue Bayou Zoo. And on Team YUBI, it's going to be Victor, Echo, Seraphine, Janna, and Lulu. Always getting the Seraphine out there. It's a good flex pick, so I definitely respect it.
Yeah, Blue Bio has played a lot of Kog'Maw compositions. It's really good playing around red and giving him the opportunity to be that main focal point. So all those supportive champions are meant to prevent a Kog'Maw selection. Karma would have been still available, and that's something that could have also been played. But these are some of the most common selections that we see when Kog'Maw is picked. So I'm happy to see that is some prep to go against red, and so they're really indexing into this heavy dive composition with Malzahar having that initial lockdown.
And it's gonna be Volibear and Maokai finished off for the bans on Blue Bayou Zoo, and we're gonna get our first pick here in just a second. It's actually gonna be Soraka locked in with the quickness. Sivir Soraka into Ezreal Braum. That's an interesting one if you have to ask me. What do you think?
Yeah, that is definitely. So these are two champions that don't really have very much innate synergy. Sivir wants to go in. Her ultimate is more of an amplifying of all teamfight tools. But Soraka is extremely strong right now, and I wouldn't hold too much into it, as Soraka is still a flex pick. It can be go into that top and mid lane selection. They can look to do something spicy in that manner. But yeah, this initially doesn't look like these are two champions that go very well together. But
Mhm.
having that sustain for Wukong can never be too bad.
I think Blue Bayou has revealed it's actually going to be Trundle top this game, if that's going to be Hecarim jungle, which is kind of interesting considering how many times Hecarim has gotten nerfed very recently. I don't feel like he competes too well with most of the meta junglers right now, and if pick 5 is actually going to be their jungler, I feel like Hecarim could be in some trouble here.
Absolutely. Well, Hecarim has been returning a little bit, at least in the Chinese server. He's more so played as like a AD assassin. He's like a death ball combo. He goes in, either he explodes someone and he dies immediately after, or he doesn't. He amounts to very little. So Dax has been playing it throughout the season. It's still technically usable, and when you're in a composition that's so low range, you notice that the 80 carry selection Sivir is 500 range. Malzahar is very low range with most of his abilities, and Wukong has to go in. So you can get a really heavy advantage with that multi-man fear coming out, especially if Soraka gets split off, she could die instantly, and that's really big for BBZ's team fight.
Absolutely, but it's going to be Poppy for the last pick to lock out their top lane for Team UB. It's actually going to be Wukong in the jungle. It's going to be a pretty interesting matchup. Wukong into Hecarim here. I mean, unless it's Poppy jungle, we can never rule that out. It's honestly a flex pick in all regards. However, I'm kind of interested to see how this one goes. I feel like my vote's going to have to go to Blue Bayou Zoo on this one just because I really like the scaling on their team. When you have an Ezreal behind that many tanks, it's actually almost impossible to... If the fight goes more than 20 seconds, it's almost always going to go to Blue Bayou Zoo if played correctly. How about you, Found?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna err on that same direction. Universal has really, I feel like their first initial composition, especially for an opener game, has a lot of disjointed elements. You have multiple champions who don't really work very well together. Wukong, even if he goes into the jungle, he's a slow clear. So is Poppy, so you're not gonna get that massive advantage to be able to punish a Hecarim in the early game. So I think Blue Bio has selected something that's very good for them, very good for their style, and I expect them to take game one with what they have here. But this is Universal has been the best team in the league, so let's see if they can you take a win, but from what I see as a compositional disadvantage.
Absolutely, and it looks like we are ready to jump into game number 1 of the night. That is going to be a great first game, honestly, looking at this draft, and it's going to be a fun one indeed looking at it. And it is going to be Hecarim in the jungle against Poppy in the jungle, so it's still going to be the Divine Sunder or Wukong top. It's a very interesting one. Poppy jungle, haven't seen that too all too recently. Don't know how well it fares in this meta, but against Hecarim it might be able to do something. Over in the top lane, you have Nier on the Trundle. We got Dax on the Hecarim, Lights on Vlad. We got Champion Red and Cross Songo on the Ezreal Braum. And on the red side, you got Freelancer 216 on the Wukong. Utility Monster on Poppy, living up to his name really well. Silverlock or Sivolock rather, on the Malzahar. Jeff God Gamer and Brian Sang on the Sivir Soraka. Ooh, going a little
Yeah,
bit of
and
poke
this
on
is
here.
and it looks like they've gone more for the lethality Sivir, so that's going to be something that's going to err more so on the side of poke to go with the dive that they already have. Poppy is a Divine Sunderer user. I know a lot of people who do play it in the jungle go that more AD route since you don't need to constantly be trading, so you don't really need that full tank option. And you don't really want to go full tank into this game anyway because Trundle's getting too many resistances would make him virtually unkillable in the mid game. So I really this is an interesting def flex option. And hopefully they're looking to get some type of advantage into their lanes by putting this Poppy somewhere where it may not have been expected.
Absolutely, and we're going to be starting with both sides of the jungle, starting on the bottom side. Looks like Poppy is going to be going for a full clear upwards. It's going to be Hecarim going straight to the chickens and doing them quite fast, as Hecarim notably will do. In the bot lane, Jeff God Gamer, being the silver he is, I think he started Q this game, so we got a very early push, and he's getting some nice damage on Champion Red. Already bring him down to half health, stacking that tier up quite nicely. That's going to be pretty devastating if Sivir gets their lethality items rather early in the top lane. It's going to be quite a little bit of a trade up there, both going down very low. Trundle keeping the sustain up.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those lanes where both AD carries have taken that tier level one. This is actually one of the opportunities that I would have opted to take teleport on the AD carry. You're not going to be doing any aggressive trading. Ezreal is not going is a champion who doesn't really need to heal. He can get away with going a more lane focused route and getting those item power spikes in, especially since they're going to be fighting around this dragon, and that's what Hecarim wants to do. So having not gone that option, I really like that they're both going more so for a farming out. They're not expected to do very much in this bot lane with the champions that they have, and if too much of this poke keeps landing, they're definitely going to be struggling a little bit to get some pressure into this lane.
So, and Malzahar being Malzahar he is getting that early push into the Vladimir. That's actually really good for him because that means Vladimir isn't able to take too many favorable trades. However, it does leave Malzahar in a situation. Getting the flash, Wukong getting ganked out here by the Hecarim. Good E, the devastating charge is going to push him back. He already flashed, so he's not going to be able to get out of that one. It's going to be first blood going to Blue Bayou Zoo. Good gank from Hecarim to take down the Wukong.
Yeah, and early on, we see some struggling in the lanes for Yubi. Malzahar exhausted his entire mana pool, didn't really get that wave pushed in. It's still frozen in front of the Vladimir's tower, so really good lane manipulation and execution from Lights in that early portion. And then having that jungle set up, Trundle getting a early first blood is really, really good. That Siskel is going to be massive for him. Hecarim going away, and now you
Ooh.
have Freelance who
Ooh.
teleported back in with no flash, and Dax is still here.
And it's going to be the return gank. No flash from Wukong. The pillar coming out. He's going to take a tower shot too. He's going to be going down again. No teleport. Dax with the return kill onto Freelancer, wasting his teleport and losing so much from it. That's game changing right there. If you ask me for the top lane, Wukong going down early. You don't like to see it.
Yeah, Wukong was pivotal to this composition to actually have threat onto this backline. If he doesn't have that damage, he's not going to be able to put out enough to go through an Ezreal, and then Vladimir could just kill him if he doesn't get a bunch of sustain from that Conqueror. So him giving up those kills and teleporting back when you know the Hecarim is still on that side of the map was extremely risky, and now it's going to be on Utility Monster to find an angle into this bot side.
He's looking for it as he jumps down. He might be going to meet the Hecarim down at the Krugs, and they do get a ward on him. Utility Monster's actually caught out here. The W from Poppy isn't going to get anything. She's going to be all, or charged backwards. Going to charge on Ezreal, though, get the flash, and Poppy's going to flash and return the kill onto Ezreal. Going to go down to the stun from Braum, though. It's going to be Trundle TPing down here. It's going to be a whole fight. No TP from Wukong coming down here as well. Malzahar is going to pick up the shutdown on the Hecarim. Going to have to flash out into the Dragon Pit, and that looks like it's going to be it. A Sivir also is going to go down to cross Songo. That is quite a trade, ladies and gentlemen, and a great TP from the Trundle to turn it all around. Brian Sang is caught out a little bit. Going to give that one over to Trundle as well. 2 extra kills for him. He gets some more money in his bank. And that's going to be a 3-for-2 trade coming out for Blue Bayou Zoo.
And that's something we expect from BBZ. They are really, really good at practice plays. That is Dax just knowing exactly where he needs to be. He went for that topside gank. He immediately recalls. He's waiting for Poppy to go for that expected gank, especially with Ezreal being so low. A flash E to the tower would have killed that Ezreal. So he's just been covering his lanes, and Dax has really been outplaying and getting his team these early advantages. And that's something that is going to be very pivotal with how this scaling goes for some of these champions.
Uh-oh, we got more of a gank coming down. Hecarim with a devastating charge. There's no shield from the Malzahar, no flash either. He's going to be going down. It's looking like a Diffie in the Jiffy if you're this Hecarim. Oh my lord. Coming mid to pick up a 3rd kill, making use of the knowledge that he has no flash, and Trundle coming in with the assistance as well. That is very well played. Blue Bayou Zoo are team diffing this game. That is amazing. They came here to play.
Absolutely, and UB is looking completely out of sorts. Their communication is definitely faltering at this level. Trundle hasn't shown back in the top lane. It's frozen from the side of the Wukong, so Wukong should have been pinging to his mid laner that can mean you can't be in the middle of the lane on a mobile mage champion. And once again, you see this is something that Lights does better than anybody else in the league. He gets these wave freezes into the lane and forces the enemy mid laner to step up in an advantageous position where he could possibly get ganked. So the kill credit has gone over to the Hecarim, but that setup was completely done by Lights, and well done on the side of the Vladimir, continuing to have this effective lane manipulation done.
I would have to agree, and it looks like red side is going to be setting up for, I believe, the Rift Herald coming up in 1 minute, getting some vision down. They did indeed get the crab. Trundle is alone up here as Hecarim is going down to the bottom side to get his red buff and probably clear up. But oh, Poppy's going to be down here. But the pool from Vlad is going to make sure that he is safe. No flash needed to be burned there. Very well played from Lights, making sure that he's not in a situation to be ganked.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a mixed execution, and Nethergrass didn't come down while the Vladimir was still close to be wall banged into the wall to get that stun. So Lights is gonna make it out, but see, he's been doing a really effective job forcing out this mana and attacking the resources of Civillock. So at this point, you're gonna need to look to get a roam into this bot side, which is exactly what this Malzahar is gonna be looking to do, because they're gonna be the most vulnerable lane for the foreseeable future, especially with how safe Lights has been.
Absolutely. Champion Red still down both summoners, so it is going to be pretty detrimental if Malzahar is able to get a ultimate onto him. Malzahar is looking to trade a little bit with Lights. Lights not having it. They're just going to clear each other's wards and walk away, but that is definitely going to be very worth if you have taken that pink ward, because you hate to see it, honestly. You put down a pink ward and it immediately gets taken away. It's the most tilting thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with this kill disadvantage, it's not completely out of their control. It's only a 1,000 gold lead due to some effective farming in some of these lanes that Wukong has managed to pick up some CS in the top on the top side. That's going to be offsetting a little bit of the Trundle's advantage. The CS is going to be above for the laners and all the on the other lanes, but the assist goal and the actual big gold infusions from getting those tower plates hasn't really gone over to BBZ yet. So it's not completely out of control yet, but this is something that is going to be a little bit of a concern for this first dragon fight.
And it is actually going to be the second dragon fight, as during the gank in the bot lane, Hecarim was able to pick up the Cloud Drake for Team Blue Bayou Zoo.
First fight that the dragon they're going to fight for.
Yeah, first fight for it. Yeah, team fight. Yes, absolutely. And Champion Red's looking to take a trade here. He has the Sheen, so he does do a little bit of damage. Jeff God Gamer taking up to half with that trade. Sheen proc not going to hit on the second time around, but it is bringing him pretty low. He's going to take some tower pokage here, maybe even get that second plating without taking too much damage here. Good silence from Soraka to ensure that. And it's actually going to be Blue Bayou Zoo on this Rift Herald in the top lane, despite all the setup for it. It is actually going to go down pretty quickly, too, and Blue Bayou Zoo are going to take this one with the swiftness, take a free objective, and they're actually looking to take a fight here, chasing them out of the river. Civillock and Utility Monster, tails between their legs, as they are respecting their team fight engage.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that right there is a perfect demonstration of the NA special. You can't fight for an objective. Trundle has push priority, so does the Vladimir. So we're just gonna group around and watch the Rift Herald die. Give him a handshake, tell him good job for getting the objective. So UB is definitely struggling to find their avenue back into this match. Utility Monster hasn't found his angles yet to really look for any successful ganks, and both these lanes are farming quite evenly. This is a good opportunity, since we should be in a lull state for at least another couple minutes until that dragon spawns, to ask what were the projections for the series, and how do you feel about this first game opening with BBZ starting off so strong?
Honestly, with how the projections went and how favored it was into UB's favor, I'm very shocked to see Blue Bayou Zoo coming out with such performance. It is also not even it's not even in a slow state. They came out swinging, and it's been an action-packed game so far. And honestly, they haven't dropped the ball quite yet. 6-2 with 1,000 gold lead and a dragon. Second one coming up in about a minute. We'll see how they're able to play with that one. And they got a Rift Herald in their pockets. I think they're chilling in this early game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I know I took a lot of flack throughout the season where I've been big into BBZ. When they want to play well, they are probably the big coin flip of a team. But when they do want to play well, they do have some of the best games that we have seen. So this is to me, this is them really showing their potential early and showing that, hey, we can challenge UB even though they're the best team. And if you knock out the #1 seed so early into this matchup, that like your path to the championship could not become any easier.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Dragon coming up in about 5 seconds. It's looking like we're going to be setting up for a fight here. Silver Soraka are walking up. Ezreal right behind them. It's actually going to be Dax coming in, pushing up the wave with them. Not really doing too much. Malzahar coming back with the with the recall, but does have the TP, so is able to get into the fight if there is one coming out. Blue Bayou Zoo, they're grouped up really well here. All TPs are available on the map, and it is actually going to be Malzahar TPing in first, as red team do start the dragon here. See how they can set this one up, as they are getting about to a quarter. Looks like Blue Bayou Zoo are going to drop the Rift Herald in the mid lane and give over this Ocean Drake, and it is going to be the Infernal Soul for this game. So we got 3 more dragons on both sides. It looks like Team YUBI are actually looking to fight this one. The Rift Herald is gonna get the charge. No, it's not actually. It was actually wasted in the mid lane, and YUBI are actually gonna really take that one to the bank. They got a free dragon and saved their mid lane.
Yeah, BBZ. Oh, and that's gonna be a flash coming out, looking for that Nethergrass onto this Ezreal. But this is gonna be that was a really interesting set of decisions, and BBZ just didn't want to call Team UB's bluff in that dragon fight. There, they were stronger. They had everything available. There was a wave in that bot side for Trundle to teleport to and look to get onto that backline. So that was a really aggressive call for the side of Team UB, and it paid out for them, where they just got objectives in both sides of the map and didn't really lose much based on where the laners were.
Very much indeed. Nier getting ganked up in the top lane, but it's actually going to be Hecarim coming back around. And Wukong's going to have to pop the ulti to get out of this one alive. It's going to be the second Cyclone coming out. Nier is actually getting hit up a little bit. Poppy walking up on this one. Poppy wants in on this. And it doesn't look like anything's going to come up here. Dax out of mana, but is going to one-shot Utility Monster with the Subjugate and the Devastating Charge right on top of her. Walking up a little too far for her own good. Utility Monster is actually going to be going down there.
Yeah, you gotta respect the resistance and stealing from the Trundle and the damage. This is not that old tank Hecarim that was more of a sustained threat. There's so much burst on the side of this Hecarim. He has so much gold. The Divine Thunder already coming through, and with the boots. So even though there wasn't even match, Hecarim's just gonna do more with the items that he has, and that was not the advantageous fight for Team UV at the moment.
Absolutely. Putting them a little bit more behind in the gold department. They're looking to be just under 2,000 gold ahead. Still closer to 1,000, but alas, it is still anyone's game at this point, despite Blue Bayou Zoo showing up early. I gotta say, with how they're scaling though, I'd be scared if I was UB, with how early of a lead they got, and they're still not done with the scaling quite yet.
Yeah, this is a composition that wasn't really expected to get ahead early. The lanes were more tilted in UB's favor, especially in certain 1v1 matchups. Malzahar can neutralize the Vladimir. The Wukong can get some type of advantage into Trundle until that level 6 comes through. So with the lanes having shaped up into the way they are,
Ooh.
and now you have another gank coming through with that spell shot already going down.
And he's going to get suppressed under the tower. It's actually going to be Malzahar going down as Trundle has to flash out. The devastating charge and the ulti from the Hecarim are actually going to keep him alive. Don't think it actually hit anything, but it did scare the Poppy away enough. Trundle having to flash out of that last tower shot actually saved his life. And they're actually going to get a free Malzahar and take that one to the bank, push up the mid, and actually reset off that. Very good for them.
Yeah, that's another kill going over. That's more assist gold going onto this Vladimir, and that is something to be extremely scared about. Sivir is a 500 rage 80 carry. If Vladimir gets anywhere close to them at this point, that could easily have been a one shot. And the Ezreal having so much damage that can come over the top that can't be blocked by tanks is something to be really concerned about for a champion that has trouble getting autos off into fights where she could just end up being a Q bot, and that's not going to be enough to really push into some of these fights.
Yeah, it is. It isn't, as they did finish the Manamune quite early and are stacking it up pretty well. Almost quite done with that. However, if you're looking at Ezreal, can't quite see that too much, but I think that's a fully stacked tier. And that's actually really good if at this point in the game. 15 minutes, we take those.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a fully stacked tier, and Wukong is going in. Look at how little damage that Nier is taking. And even, let's see if he actually has managed to win this fight.
He's actually going very low here. The stun from Poppy has actually locked him up enough to where they can get so much damage on them. 2 red buffs, I think, would be enough to take down the big old tank in the top lane. Nier's going to go down to the gank. And it's actually going to be a little bit of a fight in the bot lane, but I don't think it's going to last too long. It's just going to be a little poke from here and there. Sivir getting a lot of damage onto the Ezreal, bringing him down to about half, forcing Cross Sango to come in here. It's going to be Malzahar down here for the response, and Hecarim's waiting away, but he's nothing quite going to happen here. They're just going to back off and take the reset. Dragon coming up in 40 seconds.
Yeah, Trundle giving over a massive shutdown into that top lane into a lane where he already was behind in CS is going to do so much to bring this Wukong back into the game. He's probably going to get that Mythic on his next base. And that was something that Yubi really needed to get that acceleration because
Ooh.
Wukong has to be a threat in this next team fight.
Speaking of
And there's
acceleration,
also
Silver
all
Pop
the
in the
Saddles just
ulti.
made it out.
Speaking of acceleration, Silver Pop in the ulti to chase the Hecarim out, going to trade ultis with him, and he's actually going to get chased out of the pit. But Songo and Red are actually looping around. They might look to take this fight. It is 3v4 at the current moment. Vlad coming up from the top, though, and a TP from near. It's actually going to be responded to by the Wukong. It's going to be a whole 5v5 Braum ult coming out, but it's not going to be enough. It's actually going to be near over in the background, getting out in Sivir. That's going to be a rundown and a half. Utility Monster scraping out for his life, but it's going to be Wukong that jumped into 3, and he's going to go down on his own. Near getting kited out, not going to be able to do too much on here. Vlad's going to be going down as well. Lights couldn't get it all. But it's actually going to be Sivir getting jumped out by the devastating charge. Dax is going off on this one. Flash out from Utility Monster. He's going to make it out alive. And that's going to be a 1-for-3 for Blue by Yuzu, despite losing actually gaining the dragon off that one. They turned around a fight and a half, found.
Absolutely. Look at it, and then once we see the way the setup was, this is Dash just walking in, having the better D key or F key, depending on if you're weird, but D key for everyone else, getting that smite out and securing this dragon, and then you see how much work that this Trundle did in this backline fight.
Definitely so, and they're going to be turning around here. Let's break. I want you to break down for me exactly what happened, because there were two fronts on this one. We paid more attention to what happened on the bottom half of the map, but actually break down what Near and Lights were able to do to Jeff God Gamer.
Yeah, absolutely. Lights is going to flash into this backline. The REQ almost one-shots the Sivir. She's going to flash away and then just die. Now you're going to get the chase down. There's so much damage that has gone down. A really, really good kill from Civillock to pick up Lights onto this backline. But Near is just too tanky. He's too strong. The E devastating charge is going to come out from Soraka, and she's going to get chased down. She has no escape, and the utility is going to have to flash out. So the two frontliners of the Vladimir and the Trundle just did massive work to prevent any damage coming out from this Sivir. And when your 80 carry probably is sitting at maybe 30-40 damage in a team fight, you really can't expect it to have much follow-up afterwards.
Ezreal has come online. Not quite the Mirror Mana just yet, but the Divine Sunder has been picked up for Ezreal. That's a huge spike, and it's going to be an even bigger spike as soon as he finishes that Mirror Mana.
Yeah, and this is one of those opportunities where you need to ask what was the composition plan? What is the goal? How do you fight with the composition that UB has selected? Who is the Soraka even going to heal? If Soraka's close enough to heal the Wukong, she's in range of everyone who's looking to kill her. And healing is always dangerous where a supportive healing champion is trying to heal divers because they're going to be pushing into that backline past where your safety line tends to be. And now Jeff God is caught out where he's just aggressively pushing.
Jeff God Gamer busted out the spell shield very early, but is able to get the return kill onto Champion Red. That's actually really good for him. 1-for-1 with the investment of the jungle in the bot lane. He is going to go down, but he's going to trade that with the Ezreal as Poppy is pressuring up in the top lane. Is actually going to get a trade off on Fearlancer, but Freelancer is going to take that too lightly. Near taking down to half health in a trade, and that's amazing. TP coming out from Civlock is actually going to be almost the suppress, but not quite enough yet. Does stop the Rift Herald, though. Very good on Lights for stopping that. But I think they can just turn back right around on it. Don't have Champion Red quite yet, and Hecarim is off to the side. They're going to push mid lane and get priority on this. It's going to be a Rift Herald fight, if you ask me.
Absolutely, and that is a little bit of desperation on the side of Yubi. They committed so much to get this Vladimir, and once again, that's going to be a flash from Civillock that's not going to reach his home, and then there's going to be a 1v1, and Trundle's just going to beat down the Wukong. And I don't even know if Wukong's going to escape here. Nope, he's going to go down.
Subjugate was enough to turn around that damage from before. Very good ability, honestly, especially since Wukong has all these stats for him to take. Good amount of armor as well from Subjugate. Poppy is jumping on in there. Jeff God Gamer taking them very low, but does get healed up by the Soraka almost instantly, so it's like it never happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Trundle is way past the point where he's going to be killable by this Wukong, and that's something that Freelancer is going to need to recognize. Is that that was a 4-in-1 Trundle with multiple Siskel and items completed, where he's just going to jack all your stats and one-shot you. So Near is in a point where he is just going to be the strongest member in the game at the moment.
Absolutely. It's looking like it's going to be a dive. Jeff got Gamer spell shielding out the fear, but it's going to be Brian Sang getting bust down immediately, and it's going to be all our utility monster going down very quickly after, and they're going to get this first tier turret. And that's 2 turrets already for the side of Blue Bayou Zoo. Jeff God Gamer spell shielding the CC. It is actually going to return this kill onto Hecarim. They're actually running between the tail between their legs. Nier is caught out here. He's actually going to be very low. Freelancer jumping on right back on into the fight after taking the death. Subjugate coming out from Trundle is going to be enough to get him alive, and they are actually going to get out with only losing 2, making it an even trade in a turret for Blue Bayou Zoo.
Yeah, absolutely. That team fight was just was way too aggressive on the side of BBZ. After those kills came down, the re-engage just was too much. Sivir still had her R available and was able to walk it out with that spell shield. And with the Malzahar still being up, just getting that R onto the tech room, who is so far ahead at this point, he really should have a QSS, but because he doesn't, there isn't really escape. There's no CC. You notice most of these champions, Braum, Ezreal, have no innate CC, so there's nothing to knock the Malzahar out of that ultimate, and that just is going to be the end of the Hecarim, who's going to give up a shutdown.
Absolutely, that's a lot of gold going down to YUBI. Actually, kind of worth for them in a way, but they do lose the tower. They are down almost 3,000 gold. Dragon coming up in 30 seconds. We're going to get another fight here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Songo and Dax getting this crab for their team. Going to be good for the Vision game. It isn't going to be good for too much else. They didn't invest anything, so that's the good news. But Dragon is going to come up in here in 15 seconds, and we're going to get another team fight back to back to back to back. I'm looking for the
Yeah,
engage, too.
yeah, absolutely. And I personally believe you're the side of Yubi. This is not a fight that you want to take. You have no flashes on your key members. The Malzahar has nothing. Even though the Sivir has her flash available, so does Vladimir, and that's going to be the threat. And now you're going to be engaging onto this
Ooh.
Hecarim, who's just going to get away with the E.
After pushing up top lane, Vlad's going to TP on in here. He's going to get silenced and knocked up, but he's not going to be able to do anything. Lysa's going to go down immediately. It's going to be Dax in the back line doing a bunch of damage, but he's going to get Poppy ulted out. Nier is chasing down Freelancer. Utility Monster coming in, stunning him up. He's going to be down pretty low, but Red is going to make it out. He's actually going to trade kill onto Freelancer. Freelancer is going to be going down there. Brian saying following. They're actually going to be running out on this one. It's going to be 1 for 2 right now. It's actually going to be stunned up. And Sivir, with the ricochets and the focus, is going to take down Hecarim and Ezreal and a flash from Poppy to take down the Braum. He's actually going to go down, and they're going to be able to take this dragon that was very well played from Team UV.
That's super greedy from the side of BBZ. You're teleporting into a team fight with Vladimir. You know Malzahar is standing right there, and he's not going to survive all that burst that's going to come through. So just losing your mid laner instantly without the Hemo Plague dropping is disastrous, and there's no way they're going to get a good team fight. In this situation, you have Wukong already on the back line. The Hecarim's going to get knocked out, so any pressure that would have came from that is going to be gone. And now Ezreal's kiting for his life. He's going to be getting that damage out and going to pick up the Wukong. But now there's just nothing else to follow, and then you're walking into a quarter where these ricochets and the Sivir Q can kill everyone, and that beautiful stun from the side of Utility Monster protecting his AD carry and gaining that advantage in team fight as he's going to flash in and pick up an extra kill. So that was really well played from the side of Yubi, and that's something that we expect from them. They are probably the best team fighting team in the league, and they just executed way better than BBZ in that position.
You absolutely love to see it when you pick Sivir. That's one of my favorite reasons to pick that champion. That champion is so cracked in team fights. It's not even funny.
Yeah, especially when she's in that position where she can just get that Q through multiple people, and it hit onto the priority targets before it hit onto the tank. So that the lethality does do a lot of work in that position. The mirror mana is also picked up, and now you have Ezreal who's getting his tank stats, and that's going to make lethality lose value consistently as long as he continues to move into that avenue. So provided that Lyce doesn't TP in front of Malzahar again or gets QSS, I think that this BBZ is still in a commanding position to take this game, and they need to just lock up and control where they're looking to take these fights.
I gotta be very honest. If this Sivir went the attack speed crit build, that fight would have gone. That fight would have been over from the start. And despite being the poke Sivir, there hasn't really been too much poke. It's been all team fights. So I feel like the lethality Sivir is losing a little bit of value here, but it's still coming out with the damage.
Yeah, and it looks like it's, at least at the position that we are now, no one has paid their taxes in respect to this Malzahar, so he's still getting a bunch of value out. You know, Malzahar in corridors does a bunch of damage if he doesn't die instantly. That E spreading onto multiple targets can shred, and that is something that's going to be the only concern for taking down Nier, as he is so massive that you notice most of his resistances are into the armor avenue. So if Malzahar dies in any of these fights, that's going to be really big, and these mid laners are big focuses for how much damage they can put out.
Definitely. Champion Red did finish the Mirror Mana in that fight, though, so he is online. He does have a lot of damage going out. He is going for the Frozen Heart third. It's a interesting build, if you ask me. And I honestly, being that I've played it before, I don't know how to feel about it. It feels really good, but it feels like you're cheating in a way. So much value from getting free mana converted into AD. And then just having a bunch of armor so you don't get one shot. Ezreal being one of the safest AD carries in the game, getting more armor and making him tanky, especially with Divine Sunderer giving some health to value out that armor. It's almost it's so strange how it works, but yet it does. As it's
Yeah.
going to be quite an interesting neutral here. Not really going to take too much here in the top lane. The top lane red buff is spawning, so let's see if they fight over that, which I doubt. Sivir in the mid lane pushing that one out against Songo and Champion Red is going to be Utility Monster clearing out the vision. Not too much going on here. But how do you feel about this so far? Where do you think this is going to swing? Because despite the score and the gold, this looks really even.
Yeah, both these. It seems like both teams are really waiting on these item spikes. Vladimir is looking to get that death cap as soon as possible. He needs to have a bigger threat in some of these fights. But I keep noting that with no QSSs available for BBZ, even though you can tell that they're still in the controlling position, they're going to be in a disadvantageous spot because they have so little CC to interrupt any form of the Malzahar ultimate. It's going to be really on Dax to mark Malzahar and prevent him from getting big targets. And at least when it comes to the build from Ezreal, this is an Ezreal Pacific flavor. She's probably the only champion who can do it. He gets that massive AD ratio. If people who don't know, Mystic Shot has that 1.1 AD ratio, so Ezreal gets more value out of AD scaling than most champions otherwise would. And the AD he picks up just for getting that Frozen Heart and being tanky. And there's no black, even there's not even in a black cleaver that haven't come through from the Wukong, so there's no shred at the moment, and that's going to be a bunch of resistances and tank stats that this Ezreal has already gotten, and it's going to be up to Malzahar to get an E onto him to even get any significant portion of damage down, since the entire top side is basically 80 damage.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, aside from Soraka, who isn't really going to be doing any damage in these team fights at all, mostly utility, despite the laning phase not looking as such. You don't really. I don't know. The Soraka pick this game was very interesting to me, and I wanna hear more about it. Blue buff actually going to be picked up for Jeff God Gamer. He's going to be throwing out Qs like no tomorrow, and Dragon coming up in just under a minute. Not too much going on in the meantime. We're actually seeing quite a bit of neutral going on here. I think they're a little bit early to the game here. They are doing a good job getting the mid priority, though. Near off to the side is going to clear out this vision. I think he's going to be able to get this bank ward, but there's a second one in the pixel bush that I don't think he's going to be able to get quite yet. Hecarim charging up so far. Going to pop the Shirelias from Soraka to get them out of there. Very well played. Nothing going on quite yet. Still in a neutral. 25 seconds on the dragon. We're going to see another fight come out. And it's actually been, I think, the longest drought between fights in this game. And it looks like it's actually starting. Sivir popping up the ulti. It's actually going to be the suppress coming out from Malzahar to knock up or to stun up Near. Near flashing out on the other side. He's in the wrong direction. Poppy ulting out the Hecarim. Hecarim's out, and Songo is pretty low here. They're actually chasing them out. Good flash from Vladimir to bring Brian Sang down. And Near's coming back into the fight. Utility monster 1v1 in the near is actually gonna have to or almost get that. He's gonna go down though to the Malzahar E. Not gonna be too good for him. Malzahar getting a double kill onto Hecarim, and the E transferring onto Songo for the triple kill. What action you just saw there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, absolutely. Malzahar got huge value out of the E, and this is just another fight where BBZ wasn't able to mark any priority targets with their ultimate. They came in very late, and then Nier is so far ahead. You have to have QSS into this avenue. He takes so much damage for free before the ultimate comes out, and he gets a little bit of healing. But now you have the position where Braum is almost dead. They're kiting into this corridor, and corridors into Malzahar are just dangerous, and no one's marking the Malzahar. You can see Lights is going to go for the Sivir, who's not the main threat. Malzahar is just getting tons of damage down, and with this E that comes through that just picks up multiple champions, he's going to get the Hecarim, which is going to bounce to Sunga, and he's going to drop also. This is just a misexecution yet again, and YUBI is just outplaying in these fights.
Absolutely, and it's actually going to be a third dragon going over to Team YUBI. That's the fifth dragon of the game, but it's been quite even in that regards. There's going to be a second Infernal, and that's actually going to be sole point for Team YUBI. Ezreal does have the ulti, but there's a smite on the field. I don't think it's going to go over quite yet. Yeah, no steal attempt coming out from Champion Red. Champion Red disrespecting the fact that they lost it. They're going to walk out of that one unscathed and with 3 kills.
Yeah, and you have such a strong front line. Target prioritization is so important. You know you don't have a bunch of CC, and you know you don't have a lot of avenues to stop this ultimate. And still, no one has even opted to go into that QSS, and no one's even beginning to build it. So this is not going to be coming in for at least another 4 to 5 minutes. If someone even neglects ops to build it, that's 1,300 gold investment that's necessary for your team fight to be successful. And this is something that is important for especially Nier, who can just get it and then get that Mace Hammer and still get the tank stats from that. So that this is it looks like BBZ is maybe suffering from a little bit of pressure. I'm sure if you just asked them in a calm state of game, they probably would know to do some of these things. But the playoffs can change everybody, and this is a perfect example of how the playoffs can really put these pressures on these players to make small in optimizational matters.
Absolutely, and it's been quite interesting seeing Yubi come back into this game. Yubi has gone from I don't think that gold lead has ever stemmed further than 3,000 gold at any point. And they've kept it close the entire time. And being a dragon up right now, it's pretty good for them. Civillock is actually in a pretty bad spot, forced to flash out, getting the suppress in a very bad position onto the Hecarim. Hecarim is going to be going down though, and Civillock is actually going to get out alive. A double kill for Utility Monster. Lights is running for his life, but I think he'll be fine on this one. And it's going to be Brian Sang returned with the banana from Ezreal to take her out. Good comeback kill. Is going to be 2 for 1 though. Yubi taking these positive trades actually. Near 1v1 and Freelancer. Freelancer is actually going to have to Cyclone out of here. He has the second one and does get the knock up on, but will the pillar come out? Not in time. It's actually going to be Wukong getting out of that one alive, so that's very good for Yubi.
Yeah, and this is yet again another chance for just not having the tools to really get through this front line, and then having Ezreal and Braum have to commit so far in to even attempt to get the kill. Malzahar makes it out with a little bit of HP, and Red is probably the big hero of that play, salvaging it by picking up that Soraka on the back end. But they did get the flash out from Malzahar, so that is really big. Malzahar has no innate escapes, and this is going to be on Lights to find an avenue to really punish that, especially now that he is the big damage source with Ezreal going more into this tanky utility route, and he's going to be looking to kite more so than pump out massive amounts of damage unless he's just letting Q after Q after Q.
Absolutely, and he's actually going to be able to get out alive on this one. The E from Malzahar does transfer onto Vlad from a minion, as you saw the Comet proc actually landed over there. It's going to be very interesting. Did stop his recall, did have to walk a little further, but this Malzahar is looking pretty scary in this game. Despite having no escape now with the flash, he also doesn't have any engage either. No flash instant ult for the next, I think, 3 minutes now, looking at that timer. Baron is up, and there could be a play going on here as the vision game is starting to shift into the Baron direction. A bunch of blue wards coming up on the top side of the map. Meanwhile, it's looking like Red Team are playing for that soul point, looking at what their wards are going to be. It's actually going to be Near taking out the red tier 1 in the bot lane. Civillock back in his home in the top lane. Does have the TP. Is able to get into these fights. Vlad has his TP back up. It's actually going to be a minute and a half until the dragon does spawn back in. This game is going in all different types of directions, and I think the next fight can really decide a lot of things. I think next fight either wins or not wins. Next fight either breaks the base or gets Baron and does both. And
Yeah,
it all depends on...
Oh yeah, this is going to be a big fight, especially when with the setups that's already available. And look, if you look at the gold that's been on the screen for a little bit at the point, BBZ's all their gold is congested onto this top side. It's on this Hecarim. It's onto this Trundle. So they're going to need to get a lot of value out of that, and going to need to kite back and pinch together to prevent any massive damage coming out that's going to hit onto these champions. So you can kill this Wukong and get through. So this is all about setup. We've seen that YUBI can outplay. They are really solid team fights, and they're winning these fights despite any disadvantages that they've had. So this is a really important dragon to see who's going to end up getting this game. You see Lights is split pushing on that top side in this setup. So let's see who's going to manage to take it with the inside track having been gained by YUBI.
Definitely so, and it's actually going to be a lot of poke coming out from both sides. We got the Lethality Sivir and the Ezreal throwing out pot shots. Utility Monster taken down to about half. Nothing started quite yet. No real engages. The dragon, maybe the final elemental dragon of the game coming out. It's actually going to be started off by Jeff God Gamer immediately. They were looking to. They put a timer on this. Lights is in the top lane. He's taking down towers, but is he going to be able to get there in time? Hecarim stealing up the dragon is going to tie it up once again. But Nier off in the corner is going to go down, as well as the Braum. So it's a 2-for-0 trade so far. But they do get a tower and a dragon under their shoes. It is not quite over yet, but it is YUBI transferring up to the Baron. They're actually gonna. That's a huge call out. Honestly, it's 5v3. So I don't think Blue Bayou Zoo have any chance of really getting out of this one. It's actually going to start up again. I don't think there's any ultimates to really engage here. They do get the inhib in the top lane, which is really good, but Baron's going to go down. Oh my god, Hecarim got the steal. And he is going to go down to the Malzahar, but it is not going to be enough. They are taken very low. Champion Red as well. They are going to lose 4 members in that fight, but they got both a dragon and a Baron in their shoes. You see Hecarim just walking in there. Despite being silenced against all odds, he's able to get that smite and steal the Baron for his team. That's a good jungler right there if I've ever seen one. They're going to pick up Vlad off that return, and that is going to be the end of that, ladies and gentlemen. Good lord, Dax. Not really giving them a chance to get back into this game despite all the odds.
Absolutely, this is a disaster if you're Yubi. You've lost multiple objectives. That inhib falls to the minions into the top side because no one answered those minions, and being that was already pushed in by Lights. Lights goes in, gets massive amounts of damage on, and Hecarim outsmites 2 times in a row from onto utility marks. That D key is putting in massive work as he just picks up the Infernal and the Baron. And Ezreal still has it, so you're in a position where you can look to siege. The gold that goes over is going to prevent the offset the kill gold that went on to the side of Yubi. So in an opportunity where Yubi had taken control and had really managed to get into this really solid position, they just lose multiple objectives back to back to back.
And I did say before that team fight, whoever wins this is actually going to decide a lot of the game. I don't think any team distinctively won that team fight at all, but if you have to ask me, Blue Bayou Zoo won out on that big time, stealing both objectives and opening up their base.
And of course, and I have to rail against BBZ, even though they have now put themselves in a solid winning position. You see that both the top laner and the jungler have opted to go the Spectral Cal. Spectral Cal costs 1,200 gold, so they could have waited 100 and got the QSS, which will give you more value, but they have chosen to go for the more mainstream magic resist option that's going to help prevent. But Malzahar does percent health damage, so magic resist kind of loses value in that avenue, and now they're just looking to fight.
Good fear on to Jeff God Gamer. He's going to get one shot immediately. Brian Sang's going to follow, and that looks like Blue Bayou Zoo's cue to start opening up this base more, potentially even end the game. They do have the Baron on Ezreal still. Nier having a flash out of 2 is going to be getting out unscathed, and oh my goodness gracious, the damage from Malzahar is too lit, and it is actually going to be a suppress coming out onto Nier. Nier is going to get one shot despite having 3,000 health. This is going even once again, ladies and gentlemen, despite getting 2. Blue Bayou Zoo is not able to break this base anymore. Malzahar saving the game threefold for them. Freelancer, whew, lots of damage coming out from Ezreal. Isn't going to be enough to take anyone down, though.
Yeah, and we're definitely at the point in the game where you see the items that have come through from both these champions. Sivir and Sirach are all basically completely supplementary. They're not going to provide very much besides the innate utility that they get and maybe a random Q lands, but there's so much armor that's stacked up from the side of BBZ, so it's going to be really on them to find Civillock, who's putting out massive damage. He has that death cap. He has 2 portions that are shredding percent health in multiple different ways. So the little bit of MR that has come through is going to do nothing against this Vladimir, especially now that he has he's going to do nothing against this Mauser, especially now that Void Staff has picked up. So Civillock is going to be the pivotal person. If he can carry this game 1v9, that's going to be massive for Yubi's confidence coming back into a game where they had been in the losing portion for the majority of it.
Not to mention, he is full build right now. The only person in the game who has reached full build. That's a scary, scary champion, if you ask me. Oh my god, Champion Red eating forward. Isn't going to have that for a couple seconds, but it's not going to matter. Dax going into the fray. He's grounded. Unstoppable is going to get the fear onto Brian Sang. Brian Sang popping the ulti. TP coming out from Malzahar. Here comes the carry. Brian Sang's going to go down, but here comes Malzahar, and he's going to be doing damage, but he's out of position. He's going to get one shot by Ezreal, and that's going to be the turnaround. That's the one person in the fight that you needed to kill. Jeff God Game is going to go down. Triple kill coming out from Ezreal. It's going to be Utility Monster looking to save this game, but I don't think he can. Champion Red is going to, wow, not quite kill him just yet. He is going to get out, but they're just pushing into this base. 2 inhibitors down. I think they can take this game, Found.
Yeah, that's going to be all she wrote. Beautiful engage from the side of Hecarim, getting a multi-man fear, picking it up, and finding an opportunity where Malzahar was not there. And that is beautiful execution to pick up a huge team fight that's going to lead to the first game being taken by BBZ.
That's an amazing start to this series. Who would have guessed it? Blue Bayou Zoo coming in strong, and they're actually going to take game 1 on the first seed of regular season, Team YUBI, and a very strong team themselves. Honestly, almost got that. It was quite a messy game, even across the board. And I must say, I'm very impressed with Blue Bayou Zoo's performance to get this game and honestly take it for themselves eventually, despite how even it was throughout the entirety of the game. Very good early game, very good late game, and that's actually going to be a lot of damage coming out from Ezreal, but it is going to be matched by the Malzahar. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, and I know it probably seems that Red flew under the radar for a large portion of this game, but it was really on him to land these Qs, land these abilities. He landed multiple big bananas that killed Soraka from huge distances away. If there's anybody, you have to give credit to both Dax for his smiting and his jungle pressure in the early game, and then Red for carrying it home for the advantage that was given to him. And what a fantastic first game that we just saw, and see how many players are playing out of their minds to make these games really, really close and really, really well done.
Once again, incredible performance out here from the Hecarim. Dax really showing that this champion is not far out of the meta just yet. Coming back in with the Divine Sunderer build and really taking charge in this game. That's going to wrap up game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. That is an amazing way to start off this series. Stay tuned for an interview from our winners in just a quick second. We're going to go through a little bit of an intermission first, and we will see you guys for game number 2 real soon. Don't go anywhere.
For example.
What makes you an exception?